Happy New Year! Hello, hello. How are ya? All right. So, what I've learned so far, my name is Laura, and what I've learned so far is that it's really fun to install and uninstall Docker. How's that? There's a lot to learn in Docker, and this is Docker for desktop, which is for Windows, is the one that I'm working with. And so, what I want to do is show you what it looks like when you first install it. So let's wait for it to boot up. I did click on it. Let's click on it again. No, yes. All right, let's go to the menu. We'll go back to that later. Bing. All right. Or did I uninstall it? Maybe I just uninstalled it. Let me go look. I probably just uninstalled it. I have to install it again. I keep going back and forth with it. Okay. Yeah, I probably just uninstalled. Let me check. Beep, beep. Let's look. Let's take a look and see if it's uninstalled. Yes, it is. Okay, so what we want to do is reinstall it again. And I'm going to do it this way. I'm getting started. Docker. So when you first, this is the beginning of the bottom of the page. All kinds of info there. We are going to start over. So, Docker products, Docker-desktop. And by the way, I'm not perfect. Imagine that. I know I already have one there. So it's installing another one. But I'm just going to go through the process with you. So, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to record the tutorial that they show. Now, I know that this might look a little blurry when I get inside of Docker itself. I have to figure out how to make the font larger, or I can use a magnifying glass onto the screen, somehow, a screen magnifier, which I can do. I can do that with Windows, actually. So I'm going to test that out. There's always more than one way to do things on a computer, because program code can be written to do anything. So there you go. Now, in this case right here, I'm not logged in to Docker. I'm going to go ahead and expand this out with Control Plus. Okay. And at the top, you can see it goes up. I'm going to put it up at 200%. Hopefully on the video, that looks good. While I'm waiting for it to download. So we're going to go down here a little bit and just take a quick look at what they have to offer. I love their little characters here. It's pretty cool. So they have the agreement. It remains free for small businesses under 250 employees and 10 million in annual revenue. Personal use, education, non-commercial, open source projects. Like if you write a program and you upload it to be downloaded for free in GitHub, for instance, you can do that. It requires a paid subscription, pro, team, or business, for as little as $5 per user per month for professional use in larger businesses. The effective date of these terms is August 31, 2021. Well, today is January 1, 2023. There is a grace period until January 31, 2022. So I think they need to update this page right here, for those that will require a paid subscription to use Docker Desktop. And then the Docker Pro, Docker Team, Docker Business subscriptions now include commercial use of Docker Desktop. And then they have FAQs in the latest blog. You cannot see this. I can barely see this. So this is a screen of the extensions, which I have not installed yet. And it talks about the extensions, transform and optimize workflows by connecting to an array of pre-built developer tools from our Docker Extensions Marketplace for things like debugging, testing, networking, and security. Explore near endless workflow possibilities by creating your own custom tools and share them with your team or the world. I want to do that. I like tools. That's my niche thing is I love tools. Value management, dev engineer environments. I do. I will warn you right now. I do. My voice just kind of goes all over. My brain goes everywhere. And I don't get words completely straight every second. So I'm going to always sound a little bit off here and there when I'm trying to read or talk about something. And that's why I'm not going to edit as much. So that way you really know me, the person, as much as the information you're learning. If I'm not the style that you want to listen to, then you can always go to another channel. That's fine. So, back to what this says: value management, dev environments, and more. Takes the guesswork out of value management. Pro team and business subscribers can quickly and easily explore their value. And that means a volume is like C drive is volume C, D drive is volume D, E drive is volume E. So it's a separate space that's mapped. They map it that has borders all around it to include something to access. So they can create separate volumes in order to have each thing in its own space. And we'll learn more about that as we go. And really, when we say in its own space, a lot of times it has to do with how that's accessed as to what you call it. If you call it an image, it has to be accessed to install it in some way. If you call it a volume, it can be accessed like a drive, a C drive, a D drive, so forth. So it really relates to how you access the item as to what you call it. And yes, every day they're creating new words for the same thing. So, yeah. So here we go. So let's continue. Identify what's taking up space and remove unneeded files and directories. We still have the words files and directories. Directory is like a folder. We used to always call it a folder because the generation before these were created as far as desktop computers were folders, like inside of a file system. You have a folder and then you have individual folder pieces of paper inside that folder that could be an individual file of each piece of paper, or you can have other directories inside the folder. So a directory and a folder is the same thing, and then a file is a file, a self-contained document of some kind that could be a Word document, an Excel document, a Google Docs document, a spreadsheet, a database document, all kinds of documents, a text document, email document, you name it, it could be something, individual file. All right, so right from the dashboard. So Docker Desktop simplifies setting up common and consistent local developer environments across an organization. And then they have, of course, to learn more. And then all of this that you can't see, It might look really blurry. And by the way, I won't know what it really, really, really looks like on YouTube until I actually open it up on the YouTube channel and then expand it on this monitor here, which is a TV, by the way, 43-inch TV. So, so there's other information here. Should we go through it? Yes, we'll go through a couple more. Secure from the start. This is on the Docker desktop homepage of docker.com/products/docker dash desktop / So that is the website that all of this is on, and I will also notate that below. So, secure from the start, Docker Desktop helps you quickly and safely evaluate software. So you can start secure and push with confidence. Docker Desktop now includes the ability to generate a software bill of material. That always makes me chuckle. I think of accounting, bill of lading. Yeah. So pre-built as well as vulnerability scanning powered by SNYK, which scans your containers and provides actionable insights and recommendations for remediation in your images. An image is a self-contained file that has everything in it that it needs to install a piece of software or install something. In Microsoft, their images are .iso extension files is used to install products in Word or not Word, in Windows, for instance, in the operating system. So different file systems are installed different ways. I don't know what the extension is for this particular image that relates to inside of Docker. We will learn. Learn more about end-to-end vulnerability scanning and how to shift security left in your app delivery pipeline. So we're going to stop there and go ahead and not open. I usually show in folder, but we're not going to open my file system. Instead, we're going to just start the install by clicking on Docker Desktop right down there, and we wait. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the install. And then after the install, we're going to do the tutorial. You may or may not be able to see the tutorial, so I will try to read it. And I will read it to you. And then when you do the tutorial, you'll understand what you're looking at on the screen. What I'm trying to do is just show you a little bit more about it that has to do with the desktop. Okay, so Windows has Hyper-V set up as a virtual environment. And then they have this WSL2 instead of Hyper-V. So we're just going to let this run the way it is, because the reason being is, like, for instance, as I've learned a long, long time ago, Windows is made up of a whole bunch of tiny little files everywhere. So I would rather Windows work with the software and not give me a headache than to fight Windows and try to figure out which tiny little file or piece of code is causing a problem. So when there is something like this, where it's suggesting something that will help it work better in the operating system, in this case Windows Pro, I will say yes, go right ahead, because I want to be able to use it. And that will assure me that it will work better than if I said, no, I'm not the boss of Windows. I will do what I can to control my environment, how I'm using it and everything. But I didn't create the operating system and I choose to use it. So it is always best for the operating system that works with the hardware. I mean, Windows is directly connected with the hardware, It works directly with the hardware and the software. So it's best to cooperate with it. It's the boss, Now, if you had Linux, then you have to work with the Linux system, because it has its own file system. And so you would work with how Linux is. I'm going to set this right here. You work with how Linux is set up. We're going to set this up this way. Now the version on this is 4.15.0. That's the version. Simplify code to cloud. So let's look at this. If I scroll this and don't click on the page, that'll stay up there. If I click on the page, it'll go behind it, so I'm not going to click on the page. Simplify code to cloud application development by closely integrating with Azure. Oh my goodness. I need some water. I need some water. It happens, people. Yes, that's better. Okay. Simplify code to cloud application development by closely integrating with Azure Container. Azure is the Microsoft Cloud. Instances, ACI. An instance is a virtual client, virtual machine on the Azure network. You get the same workflow in Docker Desktop and the Docker CLI with all the container compute you want. No infrastructure to manage, no clusters to provision. Okay. Yay. Oh, look at this. It is successful. So we're going to close this. Now, I always expect something to start as soon as I install it. However, that's not happening. So I go in here, I click this again, and this time it'll start. Now, this is what it looks like when it first starts, when it is first installed. And here you can view the full terms, and here you can accept or close. Those are your choices. I will accept the terms. And I use text aloud to read terms and conditions to me many times. Many times, because there are different things I like to learn about what they write in the terms and conditions, especially if I decide to create software. I want to know what's in there. I could write a generic one that's closely related, but not exactly, Or I can have a generic one written for me and then edit it. Because I definitely do not want any problems with anybody when it comes to software and stuff. I want to be very helpful. Okay, so it says that it's starting, Docker Desktop starting. So then we wait, and I'm going to expand this. It has me already logged into it. So in this case, I'm already logged in. I didn't log out, and on the top, it might say log in, so you'll want to do that. All right, so before we go to that screen, what we're going to do is we're going to do the tutorial. That's the whole point of this. What are we, 19 minutes later? All right, we're going to do the tutorial. So I click on that and we wait. All right, so I'm going to read this because I think it looks blurry in the video. So first we clone a repository. So when you go into GitHub and you see any piece of software, you're going to see a green button. See the green button? It says clone on the top right in an area above the software package list. And it'll be a green button. You can't miss it. It says clone. And this is what happens if you click on that and you choose the clone option. So you're going to clone the software by downloading it in a clone status. All right. And then here you're going to unclone it if you want to say it that way. All right. So in this case, what we're going to do, I'm going to read it to you as we go along and we'll figure it out and I'll show you. The Getting Started project is a simple GitHub repository which contains everything you need to build an image and run it as a container. A container is just as it is. Everything in computers is normally common sense words, so don't be thinking you don't know something when you probably know a lot more than you think. A container is just what it says it is. It has 4 sides, 6 sides, whatever. It contains everything you need inside of it that relates to a piece of software, that relates to a process, or whatever. So here we're going to clone the repository by running git in a container. And here we have docker space run space dash dash. You know what I might do? I might put that under here. And I might go ahead and edit this video by putting all of this underneath here in larger letters so that way you can see it. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So, okay, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Of course, I said I would, and I'm going to do that. Docker dash run dash, not dash, Docker space run space dash dash name space repo, R-E-P-O space Alpine, A-L-P-I-N-E / git, G-I-T space clone, C-L-O-N-E space back slash, and then we have https colon / github.com / docker / getting getting dash started started and then docker space cp space repo colon / git / getting dash started / space dot. And don't forget to put the space dot. That could always mean something. When you see dots and dashes and / and a space and then 2 dashes type of thing, that's what you have to type. You have to put it in there that way in order for it to work properly. Sometimes in programming languages, it's okay not to do that, but always better to play it safe and with less chance of errors by doing that. So when you see dots and dashes and / and backslashes and colons and space and then dashes, always do it that way, however way it shows you, in whatever programming language you're working with. You can also type the command directly. Well, this is set up to click on this little double arrow right here. See the hand sign? As long as that hand sign is there, that means it's clickable. So, and when I do that, the run in terminal shows up. So, and this is the terminal here. The Windows PowerShell booted up over here because I'm on Windows. So that's what it is. I'm only talking about the Windows version, Docker for Windows. It's the only one I'm working with because that's what I have right here. There are other videos you might find and tutorials that relate to Docker for Linux and Docker for Mac. This one is only for Windows. So try the new cross-platform PowerShell HTTPS, and then it says aka.ms//ps-core6. I have not gone there and tried that. It might be good. But this is my prompt. It went into my directory instead of the Windows PowerShell directory. Okay, so I'm going to click this right here, and we're going to run it. So what that did is it put all of that stuff up here. It did not put the space dot at the end. However, I don't know if that means this might be something that communicates with that. I don't know. If you directly type it inside of here, you will not need the space dot at the end because it's not over here. So that might just have something to do with this. I don't know for sure. Again, it's always good to do whatever works with, write things with however way it works in that language. And if something doesn't work, always check your dots and dashes and, quotes, single quote, and everything. Check all of those things first. Now look at this. See, now at the end of this, it put a space dot, and that meant to go to, oh, I know what that meant. This right here. Okay, so what that's doing is it's bringing this back up. This particular prompt, that space dot is bringing this prompt back up. It's clearing this off the line to bring this up like this. So that's why that's there. Interesting. Okay. So over here, what it did is cloning means it pulled the image into the system. So it pulled it into Docker, pulling from Alpine/Git. So that's what this says. And so it pulled, I'll explain that in a minute. It pulled the clone off of the browser, off of the server where GitHub is located, and it brought that piece of code down, and then it you call it unpacked, but it unzipped it. So it pulled it down as one image that needed to be opened up, and then the files to be available to do something with them. It didn't do anything with the files yet. It just opened it up to make the files available. So, and it made a directory and everything right here. Okay. So, when I highlight something, to show you, when I highlight something like this, you see way on the bottom here, text aloud clipboard prompt. I have text aloud open, and when I highlight something or whenever I copy something, this will open up, and I can do anything with that information right there. I can put it in what they call an article, which is a blank screen where you can put all kinds of text for it to read, or I can put it at the end of a previous one that's already listed, or I can ignore it. There we go. I was doing some Linux here. All right. So that's what that was down there. All right, so now we're going to go to the next step. Up here it says clone, and it says 1. If I click on this, that will be turn into a green check and be done. Okay, now build the image. A Docker image is a private file system just for your container. It provides all the files and code your container needs. Oh, I have a cat down here who is making noise by scratching at a bag. So she likes to scratch at a lot of things. So I like to try to put things up a bit so she's not tearing it up. It's really nice outside. I'm going to have to try to get her to go out and play. So, anyways, so let's get back to this. So, cd space getting dash started, and then docker space build space, excuse me, space dash t space docker 101 tutorial, and then here they go with this again. So you always have to do this, apparently, because it'll help bring you back to this right here. So what we're going to do, space dot, what we're going to do is click on that, and it puts the cd dash getting started there, and then it put the docker build. Oh, there it goes. It's taken off. So I can't read that part to you because it already moved it off the screen. But as I was reading it, this is what it is. So this will be one line. You'll press enter here. This will be another line, and then press enter. Yep, there we are. It is building it. So it took the image that is not usable yet. Everything inside the image, it's unpacking it and making it usable by building it. One thing about GitHub that I'm still trying to work with in my head is that really there are lots of files that relate to one thing, and they're not necessarily readable. They have to be combined, and then they have to be like this: clone, build, run. They have several steps. So that's why they have the pull, and then they have the commit. Everything is done in several minute steps. And in programming, that's very good, actually. I had programming classes in college. And so, yeah, that's very good in programming. I'm going to get a drink of water. And when things are stored in different systems, like you want the programs in GitHub to work in a Linux system, or you want it to work in a Mac, or on a server, or on a desktop, or Windows Pro, Windows 11, whatever it is, you're going to set it up so that it's going to be able to unpack and then be able to load into those systems. So I'm going to move this bag because it's not actually an empty bag. It's a bag I'm using for garbage, so I don't want the cat to dump it out. So I got that moved. All right. There we go. It is still unpacking and building it, and then we get all the way to the bottom. Oh, we got this little arrow here. Point downwards. All right, so apparently it's finished. And we went back to this prompt right here. So we're going to click on next step. Down here it says use Docker scan to run SNYK test against images to find vulnerabilities and earn and I earn how to fix them. And that's a 1 there? Okay, learn how to fix them. Okay. Let's see, users, me, and then that's the prompt escape. So we're going to click on get start or next step. Okay, and it went to here, run your first container. So start a container based on the image you built in the previous step. Well, I didn't build it, you did. That was built in the previous step, which is this. Yeah, I'm just following along. I didn't do anything. Running a container launches your application with private resources. I want to learn how to do all this in Docker. Securely isolated from the rest of your machine. Docker space run space dash D space dash P space 80:80 that relates to a port 80, and then space backslash, and then let's see, I think this is on the same line. Dash, it would be, so after the backslash here, it would be, it might not be a space. I'm going to click on it and try to see what it is before it takes off. So dash name space Docker dash tutorial space Docker 101 tutorial. And there's no space dot at the end of this one. So let's click on these double arrows, and that will make it run. Click. All right, look on the, oop, it put it way up here. Yeah, they put a space here. Oh, I don't see the backslash. Huh. There's no backslash. Look at that. Maybe you can't see it. There isn't any backslash. It says Docker run, Docker space run space dash D space dash P. It brought it way up here instead of starting it down there. It's blinking because it's processing, but it didn't run yet. And also I'm doing this after I uninstall it and then install it. So this comes up when you first install it to run all of these things in the tutorial, and that's why I wanted to install it again, because I wanted it to come up on its own instead of going to look for the tutorial. I haven't done much, I haven't worked with Docker yet. However, I've worked with a lot of different software, and so and installed a lot of software, and so I'm very eager to work with Docker. My main course of working with Docker, my main reason is to be able to use the 127.0.0.1 excuse me, IP address, which is called local port, which is the IP directly off of your computer. It is a port that's only used by your computer, not anywhere else. It's not on the internet or anything like that. It's used internally so that you can run things with an IP address locally. It's just like you would on a server, but it's good for testing some code to make sure everything works. I like the idea that Docker has everything you could do on the inside of Docker, so that you don't have to. Oh, I think it's done. Okay, so that you don't have to, set up something to run it. Windows keeps giving me errors. I'm running localhost, So, I'd rather do it this way anyways. Puts me into another program to work with. So I'm going to click on next step. All right, share. See what you've saved on Hub. Share and save in Hub. And let's see. Save and share your image on desktop on Docker Hub to enable other users to easily download, run the image on any destination machine. We will get there later. Docker tag, Docker 101 tutorial, Skybits, SkyTechBits slash. It's funny, somebody said Skybits and that's me, and I changed it to SkyTechBits and that's me. People use my Skybits name, so I created it in 1995, but I didn't have it trademarked. I wanted to. I wish I would have. Anyway, so right here it says Docker 101 tutorial, Docker push, SkyTechBits slash Docker 101 tutorial. So we're going to click here to run it. Not run it, but share it. We'll see what it does. Okay. It's right in the middle of all this. I don't know why. I wonder if I can, let me see. Clear. Oh, no. How do I clear this up? I forgot. I don't want to exit. Oh. Let's see. How do I clean up PowerShell? Oh, that's not gonna work. No, that's not gonna work. Darn it. I forgot. All right. I blew it up. Okay, we're done. Now, Docker tutorial is running, like I said, on port 80. Get an app running up and running. Click View in Browser button for a hands-on tutorial. So if I click on this, it opens localhost with a tutorial. How nice. So then it has a full Docker tutorial right here. So that's how you install Docker. We'll get into the other sections as we get started. Maybe I can go through this tutorial one step at a time. What do you think? Most of us don't want to do that, so it might be more fun to do it with somebody. I don't know. I think I might do that. I'll just have, I'm going to have videos on the tutorial. And I need that too. It really helps. And a lot of people, they're not sure how to understand what they're talking about here. So maybe I can go through this with you and show you some tips on how to read it and understand what it's telling you. So, all right. You have a wonderful new year, and we'll talk to you later. Bye. This is Laura out.